Baby, they asked me about you. I said this. It came out of nowhere. I was just minding my business, having a regular conversation with people I barely knew. We were laughing, talking about work, travel, the usual small talk stuff. Then one of them leaned in and said, "So, who's the girl you're always smiling about?" And for a second I froze. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because there was too much to say. Too many moments, too many memories, too many reasons why just saying, "Oh, she's someone special," would never be enough. So I laughed a little, rubbed the back of my neck, and tried to find the right words, not to impress them, but to do you justice. Because when they asked me about you, I didn't want to give them a version of you. I wanted them to feel you. So I said this: she's not the loudest one in the room. She doesn't chase attention. But somehow, you always notice her. She listens more than she speaks. She loves deeper than most people even know how to receive. She'll act like she's okay, just so you don't worry about her. But the truth is, she's the kind of person who holds her world together, even when it's quietly falling apart behind her smile. I didn't care if I sounded dramatic. I wasn't trying to impress them. I just spoke from the part of me that wakes up every day, grateful that somehow you chose me. They all went quiet after I said it. Like, maybe they weren't expecting that kind of answer. Maybe they thought I'd joke, or just keep it casual. Say something like, "Oh, she's sweet," or "We've been together a while." But I didn't. Because when you came into my life, everything shifted. Not loud and fast, but slow, steady, deep. So when they looked at me, waiting for more, I kept talking. She's the kind of woman who remembers the little things, the way you take your coffee, the song you hummed once and didn't even realize, the fact that some days you don't want advice, you just want someone to sit beside you quietly. One of them smiled and said, "You sound like you're in deep," and I just nodded, because I am. You see, I didn't just fall for your laugh, though it still gets me every time. I didn't just fall for the way you hold my hand, though that's become my favorite kind of peace. I fell for the way you never rush anyone, the way you let people feel seen, even when they don't say much. I fell for your strength, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't scream for attention, but stands tall even when life keeps trying to knock you over. And I told them that. I told them you're not perfect, but you're real. And real is rare. You don't pretend to be unbreakable. You just keep showing up anyway. That's who you are. And that's why when they asked about you, I didn't give them a love story. I gave them the truth. Because what we have, it's not just romance, lays. It's foundation. It's foundation. It's foundation. It's home. Asterisk. Asterisk. After the conversation ended, I walked away quietly, but my mind still stuck in that moment, still thinking about how people don't ask about you often. Not really. They see a photo, maybe hear your name in passing, but they don't know what it means when I say you're my person. So when they finally asked, it felt like this window cracked open, and all that love I carry for you just came pouring out. And honestly, it made me emotional in a way I wasn't ready for, because it reminded me of everything I never want to take for granted. Like how you check on me when I say I'm fine, not just once, but again and again, until I actually open up. Or how you make simple things feel sacred, like cooking dinner or walking in silence, or sitting next to each other without needing to fill every second with words. I remembered how you never forced me to change, but somehow made me want to be better just by loving me how you do. So I told them one more thing before I left that conversation. I said, she doesn't shine because she tries to. She shines because she's honest. Because your kind of love isn't loud. It's solid. It's real. It doesn't beg for attention. It creates peace. You once told me you don't always know if people see the real you, but I do. And when they asked me about you, I told them the whole truth, that you're not just beautiful, you're brave, you're not just soft, you're resilient. And I'll keep saying that to anyone who asks, because what we have, it's the kind of love people don't believe in anymore. Later that night, I came home and found you half asleep on the couch, hair messy, blanket wrapped around your shoulders, remote slipping from your hand like it had lost the fight to keep you awake. And I just stood there for a second, watching, soaking it all in. Because earlier, I had been describing you to strangers, trying to put into words what it feels like to love someone like you. But standing there, seeing you like that, in your rawest, most peaceful state, I realized something I hadn't said out loud to them. You're the calm I never knew I needed. You didn't hear any of the things I said today. You didn't hear how I told them about the way you carry yourself, about your quiet strength, or your soft way of healing people without even realizing it. You didn't hear how I told them you've taught me what patience really means. Not just waiting in line or for things to work out, but real patience. The kind that loves someone on their worst day, the exact same way it does on their best. You didn't hear me say you're the safest place I've ever known, but I'm going to tell you now. Because it's not enough that other people understand how rare you are. You need to know it too. You're not easy to describe, and maybe that's the best part, because your love isn't made of grand speeches and dramatic scenes. It's made of quiet glances, and remembering how I take my tea, and never letting me leave the house angry. It's made of staying, even when life gets messy and uncomfortable. So tonight, as I watched you sleep, I leaned in and whispered something you didn't hear. They asked me about you, and all I could think was, I've never loved someone this much, and I've never been more sure. This morning you woke up slowly, hair still pressed from the pillow, eyes half open, like the world hadn't fully settled in yet. You looked at me and smiled, small, lazy, real, and in that quiet moment, I thought about everything I'd said the day before, about how I spoke your name like it was a secret I'd been waiting to share, and I realized something I hadn't even said to myself yet. Loving you has made me softer and stronger at the same time. You don't ask me to prove anything. You don't make me earn your attention. You just see me, all of me, even the parts I usually hide. That's what I didn't get to explain to them. They asked what you're like, but they didn't ask what you do to me. They didn't ask how your presence settles my heart after a long day, how your voice can make the chaos in my head go quiet, how just one of your hugs makes me feel like everything, no matter how hard, will be okay. They didn't ask how you've changed me, but if they did, I would have said this. She's the reason I believe in soft spaces again. In honest love, in staying, because before you, I didn't know if I'd ever feel safe enough to fully be myself. I didn't know if I'd ever let my guard down without fear of being misunderstood. But now, I come home to you, not just to a house, but to peace. I laugh easier. I apologize faster. I listen better because I've seen how you do it, and I've learned from you. So when they asked me about you, I gave them pieces of the truth. But, baby, the full truth? You're not just the person I love. You're the reason I've grown. You asked me tonight out of nowhere, did something happen yesterday? And I just smiled. Because yeah, something did happen. Something simple on the outside, but massive in my chest. You looked at me curious, and I could see it in your eyes. You knew there was more I hadn't said. So I told you. I told you about how someone asked me who you were, how it caught me off guard, and how I answered without even thinking twice. Because loving you doesn't need preparation. It just lives in me now. I told you how I couldn't stop talking once I started. How I spoke about the way you hum under your breath when you clean. How you always check on people who pretend to be okay. How you treat everyone like they matter, even if they're strangers. You blushed a little when I said it, laughed and said, "I'm not all that." And I stopped off you right there, because you are all that. And the fact that you don't see it, that's part of why I do. You've got this way of being strong, without needing to show it. You carry people without making them feel heavy. And even when you're hurting, you still give out kindness like it costs you nothing. So yeah, they asked me about you, but I didn't tell them the half of it. I didn't tell them about the nights you stayed up with me while I overthought everything, or how you leave notes in places I don't find until I need them the most, or how your laugh feels like home and your silence feels safe. I didn't tell them that when I picture my future, you're in every single version, because some things are too real to put into a conversation. Some things are better saved for moments like this, when we're sitting across from each other, hearts open, no noise in between. So tonight, I'm telling you, they asked me about you, and I realized I've never wanted to love someone like this before, and I've never meant it more. Tonight was different, not because anything big happened, not because we went anywhere or said something dramatic, but because you laid your head on my chest, closed your eyes, and whispered, "Why do you love me like this?" And I could have joked, could have said, "Because I'm stuck with you," or "You're cute, that helps." But I didn't. Because I saw something in your eyes, a kind of softness mixed with doubt, like maybe a small part of you still wonders if you're truly enough. The raw, real, unfiltered truth. I told you because you make me want to stay. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You make me want to be a better man. Not to impress you, but to match the love you give without effort. And I saw the tears build up slowly in your eyes, not from sadness, but from hearing something you've probably waited your whole life to hear, because you've been loved before. But not like this, not with clarity, not with intention. I told you about the moment someone asked me about you, and how my heart responded before my mouth could. How your name felt like something sacred in my mouth, something too deep to explain in just one sentence. And you laid there quiet again, letting those words settle into places inside you that had never been fully filled before. And that's when it hit me all over again. You don't need to change. You don't need to become more or do more or be more. You are already everything. You don't just make me feel loved. You make me feel safe. And that's the kind of love people spend their whole lives searching for. So yeah, baby, they asked me about you.